thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to those who are joining us via Instagram as well. As we all know, well, first off, my name is Jeanné Kapela. I represent District 5 in the Hawai'i State House of Representatives. As we all know, housing is a human right. Yet thousands of families across Hawaii stand on the precipice of losing shelter and access to housing when our state's eviction moratorium expires tomorrow, August 6th. Accordingly, we have gathered here today to call upon Governor David Ige to extend the island's eviction moratorium to protect renters who are experiencing and facing ongoing financial hardship. This week, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention issued a 2-month moratorium, temporarily halting evictions in counties who are experiencing heightened levels of community transmission. Hawaii's case count is skyrocketing. Our positivity rate has recently surpassed 6%. Over the last 2 weeks, Hawaii has experienced COVID-19 cases and case counts that have approached or exceeded 400 cases. Just today, we were experiencing 655 cases. Therefore, we must follow the CDC's lead and take action to protect public health. Many residents are still burdened by persistent economic challenges, including an inability to regain full employment and, in some cases, obtain unemployment assistance for lost jobs. According to the National Equity Atlas, as of this week, approximately 16,000 local individuals and families are behind on their rent. Women, Native Hawaiians, and other gender and racial minorities are especially vulnerable to financial hardship caused by the economic downturn. Women disproportionately lost their jobs during the pandemic, while continuing to shoulder the burden of unpaid care work for both their families and for our society. Similarly, Native Hawaiians have continued to be economically marginalized even within our own homeland. Allowing the eviction moratorium to expire will only continue the cycle of dispossession and impoverishment that they face. It also worsens the plague of gender violence that has become an epidemic within the pandemic. Since COVID-19 has infected our shores, service providers for survivors of sex trafficking and domestic violence have reported drastic increases in caseloads and crisis calls. Some organizations that assist survivors of sexual exploitation have endured an over 300% increase in demand for their services, as landlords have tried to coerce their tenants into trading sex for rent. If we allow the eviction moratorium to expire, then the link between sexual and economic exploitation in the islands will only deepen. Ultimately, we must do more than simply extend the eviction moratorium to help working families. COVID-19 has highlighted the systematic inequalities suffered by Hawaii's people. Our rental crisis is a symptom of that sickness. We must enact long-lasting cures, including eviction expungement, rental control, building truly affordable housing, and protections for renters who face landlord retaliation, as well as basic economic justice measures like a living wage, paid sick and family leave, universal health care and child care, and the funding that Hawaii's Native people have been denied for decades. The least that we can do is prolong our state's eviction moratorium until our economic recovery has been fully secured. As we strengthen our fight against the spread of the coronavirus in our communities, we must do all that we can in order to protect our most vulnerable neighbors from homelessness and harm. So thank you for joining us today.
My name is Khara, Jabola-Carolus. I'm here representing the Hawai'i State Commission on the Status of Women, and I'm supporting all of our community organizations and members in calling Governor Ige to extend Hawaii's eviction moratorium and to put public interest ahead of business interest. You know, COVID-19 has been a litmus test for the humanity of our community. It's revealed incredible generosity and, unfortunately, incredible greed. But not just at an individual level, but by the way that certain systems are designed. For-profit housing is one of those systems, as well as the legal system that protects it. If we do not institute reforms, as well as extend Hawaii-specific eviction moratorium, we are going to witness the biggest eviction crisis since Hawaii's traditional land tenure system was converted into a fee simple ownership system. Yesterday, the director of the Mediation Center for Hawaii went to the press and said that the CDC moratorium was meaningless. Right now, there is mass chaos and misinterpretation of what that moratorium means. She also said that they are anticipating at least 10,000 eviction cases within the initial period. This would triple our homeless population in Hawaii almost overnight, and just staggering it through mediations is not nearly enough. We're calling for a state-level eviction moratorium for these reasons. Not just the mass chaos, the fact that the CDC moratorium is open to interpretation by a conservative legal system. Also, it's the fact that it's tied to COVID spread and not economic well-being. That itself is problematic. We need a preventative approach, not an emergency room approach, to defeat the COVID-19 crisis as a collective and as a community. The CDC moratorium also requires tenants to challenge landlords in courts. And I can tell you why that's a problem, because I too am a renter and a mother. During the COVID-19 crisis, I had to move twice. First, because my landlord was not making appropriate adjustments and improvements to our unit, so it was not habitable. And the second time, because my landlord wanted to charge $100 per child on top of what the rent was, and to increase the rent. So we moved units at the peak of the pandemic. It is simply, and I didn't go to court. I would never have been counted, right, as an eviction, because it is not rational for a renter to go to court in a system that's rigged against renters. I would have ruined my credit score. I would have risked having housing insecurity possibly indefinitely. I would have risked double rent. I would have risked attorney's fees and debt for an indeterminate amount for who knows how long. Even as someone who is a US citizen, proficient in English, resourced with a steady job, that is too big of a gamble. And who has the most to lose are women on Friday if our Hawaii eviction moratorium is not renewed. And homelessness is a Pandora's box for women. It is deeply tied to physical assaults, sexual violence, sexual exploitation, as a number of our community members have shared. We have data from Hawaii, from the state, that 69% of the 97 sex trafficking victims interviewed, surveyed, and identified in 2019 before the crisis, all had been homeless. We also know that 25% of all sex trafficking victims identified in that same survey were pressured to perform sexual activity for a place to stay. Now that's the same percentage that had to do that for money. We know that housing is deeply, deeply tied to physical safety for women. So it's no exaggeration to say that if we don't extend Hawaii's eviction moratorium, if the governor does not take action this Friday, women will be trafficked, women will be raped, women will be assaulted simply because they were too poor, because there was no parachute there for them. And so we have to make that change. So we call on the governor not only to extend the eviction moratorium, but also to support reforms called for by the community, like expungement of eviction records, improved access and full exhaustion of rental assistance, and more. So thank you so much. Thank you again, Representative Kapela, for hosting us, and thank you to the community.
Here representing Affirm Hawaii. We're the only transnational feminist. We're the only transnational feminist organization in Hawaii, studying feminist theory and fighting for the future that we deserve. At Affirm, we are no strangers to the impact this pandemic has had on women and gender-variant people of color. The women of Affirm have lost jobs, housing, and loved ones to this global pandemic. Over half of of the people who filed for unemployment last year were women, even though women make up less than half of the workforce. Considering this and the reality that women are significantly more likely to be threatened with eviction than men, we can see that the eviction crisis around the corner will primarily affect women renters, especially women renters with children. Limited state support and lack of financial stability has forced women into vulnerable and precarious positions prime for exploitation. And we know that women who rent are more likely to be the targets of sexual exploitations from landlords, property managers, and loan officers. Evicting women and trans people to the streets puts them at special risk of becoming victims of sex trafficking. And the only way to prevent women and trans people from facing this danger is to extend the eviction moratorium. Lifting the eviction moratorium now is a disaster that will fall on working class women of color the most. Despite the city and state's cruel assumptions, bouncing back is not so easy. With mediation services booked over 2 months out and rental assistance programs on pause after receiving an overload of applications, it's clear that the moratorium is ending too soon. What we as working class women of color need is for the state to 1, renew Hawaii's eviction moratorium and prohibit no-cause evictions because the CDC moratorium is not enough. 2, forgive back rent. 3, allow expungement of eviction records. 4, reopen rental assistance and improve access. And 5, message clearly and constantly and in all languages to the public about the status of rental resources and laws. Only once these demands are met can we be free to truly recover from this pandemic.
Aloha everyone, my name is Jeanné Agustin. I am a housekeeper at Moana Surfrider. 30 years service. I came here in Hawaii in 1989. And I'm proud to say that I'm part of a local fight. Our union holding 12 members, 12,000 members, hospitality and healthcare. By the pandemic, we are the one hardest hit about the crisis. 9,000 hospitality, including airport workers, affected the furlough. But I can shout that our union, Local 5, we are the strongest union in this state because we are the one to help the community about the rent relief. Not only that, we helping them to sign the unemployment, we helping them about the vaccination, and we helping them to sign and find the pre-medical. And we are the union care about the safety. We helping all the members. Not only union members, the union community, because in one household, we helping them also. So I'm very proud that our union, Local 5, we care this community. Today, tourists coming back, open this state. But it's hurt me because of the workers not coming back to work. Why? The company cutting hours, the workload, not bringing daily service. Before the pandemic, 90% all the workers coming back to work. 50% 16 bellmen to work. Now, because I am one of the organizers, I'm holding Hilton Hawaiian Village. Hilton Hawaiian Village, 1,700 workers. At this situation, Valley Parking not even open up. Other hotel they're open up. Housekeeping alone, how many members that coming back? Entire the local 5 members, non-union and union, thousand of workers waiting the employer to come for them to come back to work. They want to work. The mostly stay home right now, they have small children. They want to work to make sure the children have enough food on the table 3 times a week, 3 times a day. And to make sure they can save money to send them to school. They need to work. People need to work in Hawaii. Hawaii is very expensive. Hawaii, paycheck to paycheck. So, Governor Ige, if you extend the eviction and moratorium, is a big help for us in Hawaii. Not only our local 5 members, the whole community. We need you, Governor Ige. We need you. Can you open your eyes, open your heart, open your ear? See surrounding you, the people in Hawaii need your help at this situation. And now, what I want, telling a story because I'm one of the housekeeper and I'm organizer. I cried when I see the housekeeper, they're working like a machine. Because 10 days not having a service and they taking a check out, how many more harder to them to clean the room? 100 times before the pandemic. After the pandemic, 100 times already. They told me, Lydia, how long more that I can endure to work? I like to retire, but my age is not enough. I'm only 59 years old. And I don't have a medical. I have small children to send to school. How can I pay my rent? How can I pay my mortgage? And up, we are in the street. So now, local government, at this situation, we need you, we need you, we need you. Open your heart. We need your help. Governor Ige, I want you to coming down and face us. You promised to us that you're helping your community in Hawaii. Where are you now? We need you. Please, please, please extend the eviction and moratorium to help the whole community in Hawaii. We love Hawaii. We love Hawaii. We don't want to move. But we need politicians to move on and stepping up and helping the workers and the community. And mostly, what I want you to connect it on us on hospitality, Governor Ige, I want you to helping us to bring back the daily service. We want daily service. We need more jobs. We need more jobs, Governor Ige, and all the senator and all the politicians. We need your help. And thank you.
My name is Krista. I am just a member of the Honolulu Tenants Union. It's already been documented extensively that the pandemic and lockdowns have put an even greater burden on working women in Hawaii than we were already facing pre-COVID. As a mother of 3 elementary school children who has been working all of her adult life, I was forced last year to choose between my children's education and my job. I tried to transition and work from home, but living in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment, it is impossible for me to find a space quiet enough to perform professional work, nor is it realistic to expect a 5, 8, and 10-year-old to be quiet and unsupervised for hours at a time. So I took it upon myself to school my children. I applied for unemployment assistance in June of 2020, and to date, my claims are still pending. Because of this, I'm not eligible to apply for PUA yet either. I'm just one person out of many whose claims are stuck in a backlog. This is the reality that tenants who are parents in particular have faced. Make rent or care for our kids. Pre-COVID, we as tenants had minimal options available to us when we faced hardship or eviction. 45 days to try to find a new apartment, cohabiting with friends or relatives if you have them, or homelessness. Those are the options we've been given. The eviction moratorium has helped many tenants stay housed, but there have been several who've still fallen through the cracks. This is why it is so important that tenants come together and support each other. The Honolulu Tenants Union provides a safe place where tenants on all islands can find support for building their own local tenant unions and get help accessing resources for tenants' rights. I want to encourage tenants to reach out to their friends and neighbors and support each other in exercising our rights to safe, affordable housing. On behalf of all tenants, especially women and parents, I'm asking Governor Ige to please extend the eviction moratorium until the unemployment backlog is resolved, but preferably until the rent relief the state has received has been fully distributed to those in need of rental assistance. We cannot make money appear out of thin air. We cannot work hard or long enough now that schools are reopened for the time being to make up for over a year's worth of back rent. People will become homeless. And Hawaii has already been dealing with homelessness for decades. Please protect those of us who are at the most risk. Thank you.
All right, so thank you all for being here. My name is Phil Garboden. I'm the HCRC Professor of Affordable Housing at the Department of Urban and Regional Planning and UHERO at UH Manoa. And I was asked to come here today to comment on why eviction is a woman's issue, which it most certainly is. But I first wanted to note that the immense confusion around the recent CDC moratorium extension, a confusion that will last months as cases fluctuate up and down, speaks to me at least for the need for state intervention. The eviction moratorium has always been first and foremost a public health intervention, and we remain in a public health crisis. I understand what landlords are dealing with, but we have hundreds of millions of dollars to compensate them for their challenges. So turning now towards the issue of women and eviction, I wanted to talk into three general categories: vulnerability, impact, and consequences. So both national studies and local statistics all suggest that female renters, even prior to the pandemic, were among the most vulnerable groups. The median renter household income in Hawaii is about $59,000 a year. The median female-headed renter household is $53,000 a year, and the median female-headed single adult renter household is just $30,000 a year. Single adult female-headed households have a median rent burden of 10 percentage points higher than the median for all renters. Half are paying more than 40% of their income in rent. Turning now to the impact of the recession, we know that many of the harshest impacts were on women workers. Between 2019 and 20, labor force participation stayed roughly the same for men, but fell about 2 percentage points for women. Employment fell for women by 41,000 jobs, averaged overall in 2020, and 31,000 for men. Even for those who did not lose jobs, numerous studies have documented the impact of school closures on women's lives, above and beyond what men experienced. Even women entrepreneurs, according to a UHERO study, were concentrated in industries hit hardest by the shutdown. Given these numbers, we fully expect women to constitute a disproportionate number of those threatened with eviction. In terms of consequences, the worst impacts of an eviction, of any involuntary move, falls on children who struggle both academically and their social, emotional health. In closing, eviction is an issue that affects multiple groups, reinforcing existing structures of marginalization, but it is centrally an issue of gender equity, and I urge legislators to take seriously the consequences of eviction for women and their children.